Every decision has a cause. If you go back to every decision you made, it has a cause. And here's what I believe the Bible teaches that cause is. Every decision you make is made, the cause of your decision is based off of what you desire the most. It's based off of what you desire the most. And so therefore, when you sin, you can't say, well, the devil made me do it. Or, it's because my daddy beat me. He hit me too hard when I was little. Well, listen, your daddy, the reality is he may have hit you too hard when you was little, and I acknowledge that. But your actions today are your fault, not your daddy's fault. That's a victim, and that's not what the Bible teaches. You make your decisions based off of what you desire the most, okay? You make your decisions based off of what you desire the most. Some of you would say, well, no, not really. I don't make my decision off what I desire the most because I'm on a diet. And I don't want to be on a diet because I didn't decide to go on a diet because that's what I desired the most. Well, no, it really is because you see, some of you eat cardboard because you want to live, right? And you eat cardboard because you know my heart's unhealthy, and if I eat non-cardboard, then I'm going to die. So your decision going to die is because you want to live. It's what you desire the most. Some of you are going to go home today and for lunch you're going to eat grass with vinaigrette on it because you want your beach body, right? And so your beach body, the desire for your beach body, it caused you to go on a diet. So you go back and look at every decision you've ever made in your life, and here's what it flows out of. What you desire the most. And here's what you need to understand. When you were not a Christian, BC, if you're not a Christian, you're born with a disposition against Christ. Nothing in your mind wants Christ. That's why the Bible says you're an enemy of God. That's why you're separated from God. Your mind is bent away from God. It's not bent toward God. Every disposition. That's why if you're a believer, when you look at non-believers, it's easy. The longer you're a believer, you begin to forget what it was like before BC, and you can look at people and say, why don't they get it? I don't understand. Heaven, hell, duh. Why don't they get it? And the reality is, we don't get it because our mind is darkened to Christ. Our mind is bent. It's in a disposition that makes us an enemy of God. We just don't get it because we're brilliant enough. You see, we do not make our decisions out of philosophical indifference. And here's what I know. I'm a believer. And if you're a believer, here's what happened. I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. And if you're a believer, you surrendered your life to Jesus Christ because you wanted to. But make no mistake about it. Understand this really, really clear. You would have never wanted to had God in His grace not reached down and changed your desires. Because salvation is all God. It is none you. It is all God. And so the thing that we need to understand about this is when Paul says, I do what I don't want to do, I don't do what I want to do, we need to understand that after we're redeemed, we're a new person. We have new desires. My spiritually new, redeemed, reborn person wants to please God in everything I do. I want to please God. I want to honor Him. I want God to be honored in how I treat my wife. I want God to be honored in how I treat my kids. I want God to be honored in how I treat my friends. And I want God to be honored in the things I say and how I act and respond when I can lose I want God to be honored in all that. And that's the new man. But here's this old, broken, sinful person in me that still lives in a fallen world that says, Pat, you need to please yourself. Pat, you need to please yourself. You can lose it right here, and you can get angry because look at what they did. You can go out and talk about this person because people need to know. Right? You can look at that. You can envy that toy that they've got because look at all you've done. You deserve it. You need to envy it. You can be greedy. You don't have to tithe. Look, if you tithe, look at what you can do with your money. See, that's the sinful person. That's within me. That's what Paul says. I want to do this, but everywhere I go, sin is lurking at the door. I want to do it. And see, here's what happens. When I sin as a believer, it's not because I have to any longer, because sin doesn't dominate me. But when I sin as a believer, here's what I got to come to grips with. It's the fact that it's because I desire sin more than I desire to please Jesus in that moment. That's where I got to come back to. because I don't make my decisions out of philosophical indifference. That's what Paul is saying. I will to do what's right, but I don't always. You know, and we're born of the Spirit, we're redeemed, our bondage to sin is broken, it no longer controls us, but it does influence us. So we will battle sin every moment and every day of our life. Fight is evidence of the faith.